Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people who identify as everything but circus animals, welcome to this first round of Duke It Out, presented to you by Debate Amongst Friends. Thank you very much for joining us today. I am the Duke, and I am joined by our Professor Extraordinaire, knower of all things knowledgeable, and overall good guy, Mr. John Gotti. How you doing tonight, sir?
I appreciate the introduction. I'm not really used to getting introductions like that, so I appreciate you letting me come on the pilot episode. Looking forward to try to offer my insight to the subject that you want to give out to the people.
And speaking of that, this show is kind of intended to buckshot a wide range of targets, but we try to keep it pretty simple. So, we got us a nice night, pretty a snack of a show today. Going over some of some of the things that I have seen and read over this past week that kind of gave me pause and really made me want to discuss them. So, without further ado, sir, let's go ahead and jump into this.
Absolutely, but before we do that, sir, tell people what Duke It Out is all about. Because we have some new users, we got, the thousands upon thousands of Duke fans listening in to us right now. They want to know, what is it that this show is about?
Shout out to the Pigeon Gang. Again, this show is pretty much the snapshot of the mind of the Duke. I am a lover of all things, but a purveyor of but a few. And, some of my favorite topics include comics, science fiction, pop culture, a little bit of politics sprinkled in there, because believe it or not, most people don't realize that kind of touches a little bit of everything that we do in our lives. So I kind of want to bring to the forefront and maybe educate people a little more as far as what's going on in the world and hopefully how it affects them. Or, maybe you tune in and you realize this crap don't affect me at all. That's cool. We still keep it lively. We still keep it functional. We just out here trying to have a good time. That's what we're about.
That is exactly what we're all about. And I say let's get ourselves started, sir.
So as I'm flipping through my feed, and it seems to happen at least once a week, more and more here lately, that we are seeing this quote unquote war on men. And it's not necessarily men in general, but men are definitely taking the forefront as far as the claims of sexual harassment or sexual assault that are being floated out there in the news cycle. This past week, we just got a report of Matt Lauer being fired due to sexual harassment claims. We've already seen several other people, Harvey Weinstein, obviously. Kevin Spacey just lost his position on House of Cards behind it. And it's sad that it is happening. It is also sad, I think, to see it happening on such a mass scale. But I also can't help but feel like, as some of these allegations are coming out 15 and 20 years after the fact, and again, they seem to be coming out with such rapid succession against so many different people, that I can't help but feel like maybe, just maybe, some of this might be a little retaliatory for some things that happened in the past. Just throwing that out there.
First of all, I love the fact that you did a Bill Cosby impression with that whole thing too. So
going in the pudding in the one.
Probably shouldn't do it like that again, though. Probably shouldn't do it like that, though.
But no, I mean, I'm just saying, it is crazy to me. And again, I don't I don't want to take anything from anyone who has ever been a victim of any sort of sexual harassment or sexual assault. It is a horrible thing, and I wish that there was a way to eliminate it from society. Unfortunately, it is the less shining example of human nature, and I don't know that we will ever completely get rid of it. But I, again, cannot help but feel like this is the latest box being checked off on the agenda of our quote unquote social justice warriors. Um, First it was the reported rape culture on college campuses. Now it is, this whole, oh, you looked at me dirty 5 years ago, so now I'm going to get you back and get you fired. I also think this is crazy that you can get fired behind the allegation of sexual harassment. I realize, companies have whole legal departments and HR departments that, their jobs, or at least part of, is to protect them legally and optically
Of
in these
course.
situations. And if Fox has taught us nothing else behind the Bill O'Reilly situation, it is that sometimes it is just best to cut off the arm to keep it from infecting the rest of the body, no
Hmm.
matter how useful said arm may be. But I will also say that Fox went to the mats for him for years, handling these settlements and trying to sweep all this under the rug. And I'm not saying that that is a good thing, but I am saying that it shows, I guess, a certain degree of loyalty to their employee.
Well, I guess for me, it's a change in basic dynamic. And, for those who watch Mad Men, you know, back in the day, stuff like that wasn't necessarily frowned upon because, as a great song was, it's a man's world. Nowadays, we are having more women of power, and while that is absolutely amazing, it makes, people who think too far into the past not really accept that kind of thing. Now, the question I do have for you, now that you was mentioning it, is: are we now getting into an age? Because you talk about social justice warriors. Are we
Yeah.
now getting into an age where it is more socially acceptable to be whistleblowers?
Yes, absolutely. And again, the old adage says, "See something, say something." Homeland Security picked that verbiage up, discussing, reporting signs of terrorism or things of that nature. And in that sense, people didn't necessarily want to do it because they felt like it was culturally insensitive and, whatever else. But it seems like now we have no problem saying something when we've seen something, regardless of how old it is. And I guess at the end of the day, that's really my issue with this,
Mm-hmm.
is that I can understand if you said something 10 or 15 or 20 years ago and no one took you seriously. And now that it's becoming a bigger issue, you decide to say something again. I can understand that. But if you've waited 20 years to talk about how someone inappropriately touched you at a party 20 years ago, I can't help but feel like you just weren't that offended by it.
Do you feel like it's more because of seeing so many other people getting their names out there? And this all began, I don't want to say it began, but it really did begin with the Bill Cosby situation, where there were people just coming out of the woodworks
It's
talking about
still,
things that happened
still,
20, 30 years ago. And we're not saying them coming, forefront about these issues is wrong, and we're not commending them for it. The thing that I believe that the Duke is talking about is, why did it take so long? You know,
yes. And that is precisely my point. And I gave no one in the Bill Cosby situation necessarily flack about it, because a lot of them did come out initially in the beginning when this first happened
yes.
and said something, and they were straight up told, I was a nobody. This was the most popular comedian at that time in the world. And so, of course, I just got swept under the rug. look, I feel tragically for you, and I really wish, had I been in a situation to help them at that point, I most certainly would have.
Hmm.
Again, it's deplorable no matter who does it or when they do it, and I don't want to come off as sanctioning any of these actions. But what I am saying is that when something happens, that's the point to
Yes.
come back and say something. Um, Again, I don't necessarily feel that this is right, but this is the law. That in a lot of states there is a statute of limitations on rape, and it is for exactly this purpose. Because if something happens, it is a lot easier to prove it and to do something about it at the point or shortly thereafter happening than there is years into the future where evidence has been hidden or destroyed, where people linked to this have died or moved on or just are out of contact. And so now it is basically your word against mine, and you feel some sort of way because there is nothing that can be found to substantiate the story. And again, I feel like, if any of these things are found to be true, then yes, by all means, you shouldn't at least not have a public job. I don't think we should be like, oh, no one should ever hire you ever again in your life. Might as well
Hmm.
just go and throw them in jail at that point. But I do feel like these claims need to be proven before any sort of punitive action is to happen. And again, I always speak for the viewpoints of businesses,
Yes.
small, large, doesn't matter. If you employ one person, you are a business. And so I always try to speak from the viewpoints of business and business people. And I get that the optics of it do not look good when you have someone who is even accused of sexual harassment working for you. However, I don't feel like a knee jerk reaction like firing them is necessarily what is right, because mark my words, what we will start seeing as some of these cases start going to trial and some of them end up being beaten is you will see these celebrities or politicians come back and sue the agencies that fired them,
Hmm.
all because you fired me based on slander, or at least what has been legally found to be slander.
Now, is it really slander, or is it more of a, well, you kind of threw me underneath the bus, so I'm trying to do the same thing?
No, because I do believe that it is slander because basically, if it cannot be proven or cannot be substantiated, in a sense, it didn't happen. And it's sad to say that because again, there are actual victims out there
Yes.
who probably won't have any evidence, and I feel again terrible for them. But when you start talking about destroying someone's career and subsequently their life and the lives of their family who depend on the income from that career, you kind of have to look at the bigger picture here. Is it okay for me to necessarily worry about your feelings in this situation over the well-being and livelihoods of a family? And so I feel like that's why the law was kind of written in such a way that we don't just throw people in jail because someone said you did something. It has to be proven. Or you at least have to convince a jury that this happened.
So, based on what you're saying, the kind of question I have for you is, while I can understand the empathy towards the individuals who are being accused and are getting slanderized, and are definitely losing their main source of income, what about the other side of the coin and, the victims of the case, or the alleged victims of the case, I guess we can say? Um, what about the stress, the emotional tarnishment that they've dealt with for those 15, 10, 20 years? What about that side?
Well, and again, I feel like if that was the case, you know, go to the police. That's what we teach little children. Something bad happens to you, you go tell the cop, or you go tell someone in an authoritative position. And again, not to say that some of them didn't, but what if I was a victim of sexual assault or sexual harassment? What does it benefit me
Hmm.
for you to lose your job? I mean, obviously, I don't want you to come work for me. You're a harasser or an assaulter. Um, obviously, there are no warm feelings between us, so
Yes.
that's not going to work. I can't, in this situation, now ask you for compensation because, well, you have no income. Um, so again, outside of being able to point the finger and be like, "Had now you feel some pain," what does it really like? How do you equate the two? And again, not to say that there should not be some punishment, but that punishment is not for the victims. That punishment is for the onlookers, the bystanders, to basically make an example of them, to say, "Hey, don't do this, or you'll be next."
The social justice
So,
warriors, that you would say.
well, no, not even them, but more so society.
Ah.
Yeah, Duchess and I kind of got into that with the whole death penalty, and I was like, I'm not necessarily against capital punishment, but at the same time, I realize that two wrongs don't make a right. You know, if I take your eye and the state takes mine, then now we're both blind.
Mm.
What does it serve anyone at the end of the day? Again, it serves as a warning to the rest of society to not follow in this person's footsteps. So, you know, again, to that person who has suffered the mental or possibly even financial anguish um, for all those years, I don't know how you make that person whole. I don't. I mean, hopefully we can come up with some sort of resolution to that. And maybe it is that instead of, having to pay this person or having them thrown in jail, the court comes up with a mediator and you find some way to, amicably put this to bed, so to speak, no pun intended. Um, but I don't feel like, all of these people losing their jobs and losing their livelihoods is necessarily the way to go about that.
Hmm. So then, what do you think, moving forward? What do you think is going to start taking place moving forward now? So we already have all these situations that have already occurred. What does this mean
Right.
now from, this current time, let's say the next 2 years? Are people going to be much more? I don't want to use the word PC because that's very passive aggressive. Uh,
Right.
Much more
You know how I
overly
feel about that.
cautious about how to approach people of the other sex.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I actually have an associate of mine who is in the same field that I'm in, and we have as a matter of fact, this is the field that I'm in is more of a female-driven field than it is a male field. Um, 3 of the 4 vice presidents at my company are all women. Um, and he has now gotten to the point he will not be in a room with a closed door with another woman. It doesn't matter if there are 5 women in the room. If he is the only man in that room, he will not be in that room. He will get up and leave.
Hmm.
Or if nothing else, get up and open the door. Like, that's just him because he doesn't want anyone to accuse him of anything like this. And especially because even the accusation of it at this point is so bad that it follows you around as if you had done it.
To
And
the
that's,
point to where you start believing that you did something like that.
well, I mean, not even that, but it's just the fact of whether I did it or not. The fact that you say I did it
Hmm.
carries the same weight as if I had done it. So, again, it is, I think that we will continue to see more of this. And this is why I kind of called the segment, the war on men, because now it comes to the point where, let's say I have a female employee who is chronically late, who doesn't work when she shows up, who is just, generally being a jerk to our customers. And for all of these reasons combined, I decide, okay, it is time to terminate you. We have tried to move on past this. Nothing seems to be working. At this point, we need to end your employment. How do I know 5 years from now she's not going to come back and be like, oh, you only fired me because I wouldn't sleep with you? And that is a very, very, very real threat for a lot of men who are still in some sort of position of power because you don't know that that will happen. And I have seen that exact thing happen.
Hmm.
But again, the accusation carries the same weight as if you had actually done it. So now, you'll start seeing men walking on eggshells. You've already seen some that have been accused um, recuse themselves from their positions because it doesn't really matter if I fight this. It doesn't really matter if it is proven that this didn't happen. I will always and forever be accused of doing it.
Yes.
And so, I think that we will start seeing this kind of flip flop of the power dynamic, at least here in America, and probably around the world as well, as this, starts to spread further and further out. More so than we have in the past 50 years of women getting into more positions of power and men being relegated to lesser roles. And again, not to say there's anything wrong with that, but if that is the way that your particular market actually trends, much like mine, it is over the last 20 years become a female driven market, then that's fine. But to basically knock out any man that you see as opposition in your way by using something like this, I feel like is not only underhanded but dirty. And that's what I wish or I hope is not happening in these cases. I am more than sure, more than sure that there are a lot of guys out there who do harass their employees or even assault their employees. And, I'm sure that it makes them quite uncomfortable. But
The guy or the females?
it doesn't really matter because, and that's another thing that a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about, is that yes, men can get raped. Yes, men can be harassed. Yes, men can be sexually assaulted. Um, and, a lot of people think that that's not the case or that it doesn't happen, blah, 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 blah. The main difference being is that most men, either through pride or through the fact that, you've been told that you're supposed to be the stronger sex or, you should just quote unquote man up, they tend not to report these things. And especially not in the numbers that women do. So, I feel like we will start seeing this flip of, men possibly reporting a lot of sexual harassment, sexual assault claims as women get into, bigger and bigger positions of power. But we won't see them in the same numbers as we do now. I mean, I think that we have all at some point been hit on by a woman who was in a position over ours. And either we shake it off or, we just, the male ego is a fascinating thing because a lot of times we'll just be like, oh, she only did that because I'm hot, pop your collar, brush your shoulders off. And, off we go on about our day. And again, it's not to say that it's right, but we will start to see more possibly aggressive forms of that as now women go back to this 50s mindset of feeling untouchable, the power gender, and being in these roles of economic dominance, we'll just say. So, again, I hope that it tapers off, and I'm not I'm not advocating for male dominance. I don't want anybody to think that at all. Um, but I I do wish that before any punishments, anything has been dealt out, that these allegations are at least looked into. And I mean, look, I'm not there, I'm not behind the scenes. It could be that, we'll say in the case of Kevin Spacey, Netflix came to you and was like, hey, is there anything, to this? And he could have very well said, there might be a little bit of truth to that. And that could be why they fired him. I don't know. But I do think that, just statistically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
the number of them that we have seen, there has got to be at least one false claim in there somewhere.
I can I can see your point. I guess one other question that I have, and based on what you're saying, what is your thoughts on the mass demasculation, as well as the I guess, and I'm reading articles on and this is from Town Hall, talk about there are now workshops being conducted to teach men how to avoid toxic masculinity.
Okay. I I often grapple with this because I read similar stories almost every day. It seems like now. And um, even though I am not Caucasian, it seems to be aimed at Christian heterosexual white males, which
Probably the term Caucasian is probably more better, but I think that's
you know
PC.
that's exactly my point. Um, but it is it's kind of funny to me. It makes me laugh sometimes. Again, as not necessarily fitting into that demographic,
Mm-hmm.
that I find myself asking: are these the only people capable of horrendous acts? Like last time I checked, black males were per capita the largest equivalency of assaulters in the country, the highest equivalency of murderers in the country. And it's crazy to me that, again, you're not going after, or I shouldn't say you, but um, we'll just say SJWs in general,
Okay.
social justice warriors. You're not going after people who are actually doing foul things. You are literally going after what you perceive to be the power players. You have decided that you were going to cut the snake off at the head. You were going to get rid of anybody in any form of power, and you were going to keep the people that you perceive to be rising to power from getting to power. And I feel like that's the whole drive of this campaign is, we are going to go after you because you, on average, in our minds at least, do the most damage to our way of life. I'm not sure exactly where this came from. I assume some college professor somewhere, but I probably shouldn't assume because, that's how you make an ass out of me in a view. But um, that's what it seems like. And it's sad. It really, really is, because you can't. It's exactly what happened to Nazi Germany. You can't just point to one group of people and go, them, that's the source of our problems. It's not the case. And certainly not the source of all your problems. Maybe some, maybe. But it's not fair to those issues to do that. You need to actually sit down and look based on your area. where these problems are coming from and then come up with a solution as to how to fix them. You can't just say, oh, if we get rid of all of the heterosexual Christian uh, Caucasian males, that life would just be just peachy, and we should put a woman in the White House and have an all-female Congress, all-female Senate, and then life will be going by like blazing wheels on tracks. Because that, again, may or may not actually be the case. There's no pretext to it. There's no history to it. There's no research done on it. You're thinking with your emotions instead of with facts, and you're trying to handle a very factual problem with emotion, and it won't work. The only thing that you're going to do is leave a path of damage and destruction in your wake that someone else is going to have to come back and clean up. So that is the answer to my question. Boom. Truth bomb.
Oh goodness! Wait, that could be your new catchphrase.
No, truth bomb.
Hashtag truth bombs.
Just saying.
Oh goodness! I mean, I guess we can.
It was another thing that popped up over the week, and kind of moving off of this topic, but the Avengers Infinity War trailer. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is the culmination of everything that 8-year-old me has ever wanted to see in my life.
I will definitely say that I've watched this trailer a few times as soon as it came out. And then people are still sending me links to the trailer. Hey, did you get a chance to look at this? I'm like, yes, I watched it already. I watched it as soon as it dropped.
I'm just like, we should just call the Guinness Book of World Records the Marvel Book of World Records, because this trailer set another world record.
It did.
The most viewed video within 24 hours that YouTube has ever seen.
Within 6 hours.
Yes.
It was within 6.
I think the end record was 24 going so far.
But they also noted that within 6 it broke a record too.
Yes. And like the worst part was, it was a real sneak trailer. Like they didn't even announce that it was coming out or anything.
No. They announced the trailer was coming that week. They didn't say what day.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, this is like if Marvel was Beyonce, this is their Lemonade. Like, you just went hard in the paint, and it was awesome.
I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah.
Oh, you just dropped a Queen Bee reference on us.
Just saying, you should have put a ring on it.
Oh gosh. Well, I think after people watch this trailer, they're definitely ready to put a ring on, the Marvel movie universe right now, as opposed to the DC.
Dude, I'm just saying, like, if you weren't a Marvel fan before,
you are now.
Just pop in on this trailer, and you will be like, "Oh my god, ticket bought now." I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to start selling tickets a month early for this movie, which will probably set some other new world record, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just wow. But it's interesting that you brought up Justice League, because I actually intended to talk about the difference between Marvel and DC when it comes to their superhero mashup movies, as we now have at least one from each. And the results are just sad. I've said this many times in the past. Damn you, DC, for ruining what little piece of my Batman childhood I had left. Like, I love me some Batman. I used to run around the house in Batman pajamas with a little cape on the back and pretend that I was Batman. Right? That's how much I like Batman. And you just went through and you peed in my cornflakes. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And it was sad because, like, again, you were coming off of the Nolan Batman trilogy, which was all kinds of awesome and set new records for DC.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give us Man of Steel, which, like it or hate it, commercially, it was a successful
It
movie.
was so.
Yeah, again, commercially, it was a successful movie. More so than Superman Returns, which I feel like was a stronger entry in there, but whatever. Personal opinion. Um, but then you gave us Suicide Squad. And I'm ashamed to admit this, but I wrote quite a saucy letter to DC and basically asked them, what the fuss were you thinking? Like, it had the potential to be all three kinds of awesome. And you just screwed.
I felt like they screwed the pooch for a while
I
for their
mean,
movies, and you know, and I have mixed feelings about the whole Wonder Woman movie as well too. People
but
liked it.
again,
I'm looking at it. I'm just like, I mean,
again, commercially very successful. And honestly, out of the DC EU movies, one of the strongest entries as far as tone, story, all that good stuff.
I don't know if
Granted,
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And it's
well,
nothing
it's
against
a bad,
Wonder Woman as the character.
right? Because I love me some Diana Prince, but I feel like it was a bad thing since the movie itself was kind of a ripoff of a bunch of other movies.
Exactly.
But I think it was a good thing because whether it was a ripoff or not, it was a strong entry for DC.
I mean, it's like Marvel movies are name brand sodas, and then the DC are the 99-cent store knockoff versions of them.
DC's RC Cola.
I mean, I wouldn't say RC Cola because RC Cola can go down pretty good, but I mean, we're talking about 3 tiers below RC Cola. Like the soda that people bring to potlucks, knowing that people aren't really gonna drink it. So they get rid of the label just to make everyone drink it.
You are Sun Twist.
Wow, not
And
even some
Morning
kissed. Morning too.
Yes.
But I mean, that's just the way that I look at the DC universe, and it's sad because Batman v Superman had a potential to be good. Suicide Squad had the potential to be good. Wonder Woman had the potential to be good, but that's the problem. They've always had the potential, and
Right.
something or
And
another ruins it. You know,
I blame a lot of that on
Batman v
corporate
Superman
influence
was
from Warner Bros.
Batman v Superman. Martha became the long-running meme. Suicide Squad completely rewrote the entire story to just become nothing more than a highlight reel.
Mhm.
Wonder Woman. What I can't say about Wonder Woman, everyone else already said it already, so I'm not even going to touch that anymore. And Justice League, I mean, I didn't watch it, but I feel like I shouldn't pay money to watch it.
Yeah, that's one of those ones. I'm gonna wait until it comes out on DVD, and depending on the price, I might pick it up.
Like, I'm
Um,
actually waiting for it to be available when I fly later on this month.
Ooh, ouch.
Like, it's gonna be a free flight, free movie during the flight, and I can just sit back and watch it.
But that's kind of how I watch Batman vs Superman. I can't lie. But that's just my whole issue of you can see the difference between studios and studio influence.
Yes.
Marvel has a lot of influence, and subsequently Disney as their parent company has a lot of influence in their movies, but it is more an expectation set out from the gate than it is I want someone from the studio sitting on set every day making changes and corrections as we shoot. Mm-mm. No. All of that needs to be done prior to even getting on location. Like, here's my script. If you don't like it, make your changes now so that I know what I need to order, what I need to change, what we can skip over, what needs to be included before we start shooting. And I feel like that is also why, on average, a lot of the DC movies cost more than the Marvel movies. I don't think it has anything to do with resources per se. It is more you make these last minute reshoots or rewrites, and now we have to build new props or change costumes or call people back from other movies that they're in and do all this rigmarole to make everything fit back in like it should have 8 or 9 months ago.
Yes.
And it is really, really sad because, again, I had such high hopes. DC has name and brand recognition. There is nowhere in the world you can't go and people don't know who Batman is, or people don't know who Superman is, or people don't know who Wonder Woman is. You have history. You have a lineage. You were some of the original comic books. And the fact that DC didn't want to bank on that kind of made me scratch my head when they first announced that they were doing the new 52 lineup of things, because I'm like, wasn't that a failed experiment that even y'all have moved on
I
from?
think that's probably the part that you're most salty about, is the fact that they're using that storyline. Like they're using that for the, not only just for the movies but for the video games as well.
That's true. And I mean, yeah, it does.
Granted, the video games kind of branch out to its own now, so now there's an Injustice universe and an Injustice comic book now. But everything began from that New 52.
Right. And I mean, again, that does bug me to an extent, but it is more so. I think it is more so the studio interference because, again, fine, you want to take these New 52 characters. I really don't care. At the end of the day, everyone is still who they are.
Yes.
They are still inherent to the characters of their, or the characteristics of their character. But the fact that my prime example is, or are, the CW shows compared to the DC movies. One thing that DC has always done well are their animated movies. And I feel like it is because Warner Brothers has such little influence into it that those movies are allowed to just be them. Whereas, the CW shows.
Well, it's been like that for even, the first Batman movie. Warner Brothers didn't really have much of a thumb on there. Even like the Batman animated series that we all grew up and loved so much. Right. Probably top 10 animated show of all time. Really hard to argue with that.
And that's kind of the issue.
Until the fourth season, of course. That's when Warner Brothers finally decided to jump in there.
Exactly, and that is exactly my point. Whenever Warner Brothers has deemed a project to be a failure out the gate, hey, this is an experiment, we're just going to test this out, blah, 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 whatever. Those projects always end up doing well, i.e., 89 Batman movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. That movie was severely underfunded for what it was supposed to be, and it did awesome.
Yep.
Batman the Animated Series, same thing. Severely underfunded. They had to reuse frames in a lot of that show just to make coherent stories in this cartoon. Cartoons are not, in terms of production value, they're not expensive at all. And you're still making them reuse frames because they just didn't have the funding to animate a full season of this show. So, I mean, whenever they deem it to be a failure, it always ends up coming out on top. But whenever they put their hands in it, they just muddle it all up. And that's part of the reason why Christopher Nolan left. They wanted him to stay. Warner Brothers has this real issue with hanging on to things and getting attached to things.
Yes.
Ben Affleck being my perfect example of that. You did some good movies for Warner Brothers, both acting and directing, and now you're just the Warner Brothers golden boy. We want you to act in and direct everything. Mm-hmm. And that's not how this works, as opposed to Marvel, who, you want to direct? Cool. We got something coming up down the line that we think you might be good for, but not this movie or not this show.
Yes.
You want to give someone else their shine. You went out and you got relatively unknown actors or actors who were kind of on the downward spiral of their careers, signed them to these multi-year deals for next to nothing out the gate, and made some stellar, phenomenal movies. You turned Chris Hemsworth into a household name, which, again, he's a good actor. I don't feel like it would have taken him long to get his shine regardless, but you saw the potential before everyone else did. You signed him to these, multi-movie deals,
Mm-hmm.
and it was mutually beneficial arrangement for everyone involved. But that is the mindset of those two companies, and I feel like that is why Marvel keeps coming out on top, and DC doesn't. It has nothing to do with the properties, because again, if you put out a good Justice League movie, I would go watch it in a heartbeat. I'd watch it 3 times. I love the Justice League Unlimited, Super Friends, the original Justice League, the rebooted Justice League, Young Justice. Loved them all. This was not that.
No. No.
This was a hammy mess
Mm-hmm.
that didn't know what it wanted to be, much like the problems that come out of other DC live action movies. And it just wasn't enjoyable for true fans. And I get it. That is not what Warner Brothers is shooting for. They're shooting for mass market appeal.
Yes.
But again, I point to Marvel. It is possible to have both. Marvel went through and changed aspects of their characters and stories, not only for legal reasons, but also for mass market appeal, and it still worked. You still had just enough to satisfy the fans and just enough to bring new viewers in. That is a sign of good storytelling or good writing. And DC is lacking that in spades. So I hope that they get it together. They probably won't. But, I can hope. I can hold out hope.
I can understand that, but let's talk a little bit more about this trailer that dropped. Let's get your reaction. Other than the massive nerdgasms, that us comic book fans have received, and even those that are casual fans, who really enjoyed a lot of the movies. People talked about how successful and how good Thor Ragnarok was. I had a chance to watch that movie. Awesome movie. Possibly one of their strongest movies.
Dude, hands down, the strongest Thor entry, most definitely. But even the Duchess put it up within the top 5 of all Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that have ever come out. And, maybe when we get her on next time, we'll have to get her list of those. But, again, she is the casual fan. She is the target audience
Yes.
for all of these comic book movies. She has never read a comic in her life, doesn't want to, but enjoys the characters and enjoys seeing them in this movie format. And, will go and spend money to watch a good movie 2 or 3 or 4 times if it's just really that good. But as far as that trailer, I feel like it turned all of us into mouth breathers because I could not pick my jaw off the floor fast enough. So one, I liked the opening with Nick Fury's line from the Avengers being spoken by the different Avengers.
Yes.
That was awesome. It was an awesome callback to the first Avengers movie. And very tastefully done. Once again, your trailers just make me feel engrossed in these movies. But I feel like it also kind of set a tone for the movie. Like, you get it, although this movie might have some laughs in it, it's not going to be a funny movie. Thanos is here. The big bad that was teased upwards of 10 years ago has finally arrived. And just to take a sidebar, can I say that is another thing that teed me off about Justice League is Darkseid. Supposed to be the big bad of this entire franchise.
Nope.
This fool was not mentioned.
At all, not even once.
Nunca. Not. I, how do you? How do you do? Okay, the first Avengers didn't mention Thanos either. But again, we weren't supposed to know about Thanos.
No.
He was the puppet master in the
Yes.
back, doing his thing, doing his stuff dizzle. And it was great that they took the first villain from the Avengers, who actually was Loki in the comics,
Mm-hmm.
but a already established characters with his own motives that we didn't have to question. And you gave us him as a villain. So when Thanos was revealed at the end of Avengers to be, essentially the man in the chair, the dude pulling all the strings,
Yes.
everybody was like, "Oh my god, I'm so hyped." This one, you've already teased Thanos in Batman vs Superman.
Tease Dark
Anyone
Side.
who, yeah, sorry,
I was like, oh no, you about to make Marvel fans really mad right now. I saved your life.
but oh my, you know what? Look, I will have Chris. No, I won't have Chris. I'll have
Nah.
Scott write up a full apology
There you go.
and put that up on the site. But yes, you already teased Darkseid in Batman vs Superman, and anyone who doesn't know, Darkseid always uses the Greek Omega symbol as his calling card. It's on his belt, it's on his palace. That's his thing. He is the Omega of the DC universe. He is the end.
Yes.
So, you already kind of teased that in Batman vs Superman. So I kind of figured we'd get maybe a reveal or at least a name drop, a little bit of backstory, something. Since you were using one of his top generals in Steppenwolf. It's a story for another day. As the villain for Justice League. But no, nothing. But anyway, getting back to this trailer. So, that's kind of what sets up the trailer is, that quote from the Avengers. And then we go ahead and jump in these panning shots, and we have, Bruce Banner in the Sanctum Sanctorum of Doctor Strange, which was just awesome. Anybody who has seen the Infinity War comic knows that originally that was Silver Surfer that crashed through the Sanctum Sanctorum to warn them about Thanos. But since we don't have Silver Surfer, thank you, Fox. Hurry up and sign that deal because it's not too late. P.S.
They're not going to do that.
I feel like they will. And if nothing else, we will probably see those Marvel properties from Fox, minus maybe the X-Men. But we'll see those properties revert back to Marvel, at least in a shared sense, kind of like what Sony did with Spider-Man.
I can see that. Just a quick side about that. Don't you think it's amazing how well these Marvel movies are doing without the X-Men?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at this point, without even the Inhumans.
Yeah.
Like, there are no groups of enhanced people short of the Avengers on big screen today.
Yep.
Which is both amazing and comical to me.
It just speaks on how strong they built their characters here. We talked about how every single character, and this is, off the podcast, but how every single character casted in the Marvel comic movie universe is perfect. Everyone in their roles is perfect.
With the exception of one or two, but I mean, look, they're forgivable. You can't hit 100 every single time.
No, but you're still at an A+ though. Like you're still above.
Oh, yeah.
You're still above 95.
You're a solid 97.5.
Exactly.
Good enough for Stanford. So, I'm sorry. Should I have said good enough for state? I don't know.
Nope. Live TV. Move it on.
But yeah, no, I completely. And again, my examples being the first Avengers lineup of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I know there are several videos out there on all the people who were in the running to play Iron Man, I'm sorry, Robert Downey Jr. would have been my only choice because you are Iron Man. Your real life is that of Tony Stark.
You're basically playing Robert Downey Jr. But you
Exactly.
have a mech suit.
Pretty much. You're Robert Downey Jr. enhanced. That's it. That's just what we get.
It's like just turn up that douche factor by just a smidge.
I do look, not even. We just need you to act smarter than you maybe already do. I don't know. But but Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. Like I saw this cat at a press conference. Like, you are Thor.
Yes.
The only other person I might have maybe seen in that role is Big Sexy, and even then, I feel like you're too old to play that part. But maybe a younger Big Sexy might. Maybe if we can put him in the same little cryopod that Walt Disney's in. I don't know. Then you have Chris Evans, who may not have been my first pick to play Captain America, but who has been a solid Captain America for the MCU. I do thoroughly enjoy him in his roles most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think he's rocked out the shield very well. And I mean, you can just keep going right on down the line. All of them are perfect for the roles that they're in, and the few exceptions that aren't, you were only not perfect in your role, more so because of writing than casting. So, Marvel casting department, you should get a Christmas bonus every year because you've been rocking out with your socks off.
But for those that are out there, they want to know who are the people that you think are not perfectly cast. Because we know, but the people don't know.
I did not approve of the casting of Quicksilver. And again, that had more so to do with the writing than it did with the actual actor, because I loved him in Kick-Ass. I mean, he was you were maybe not even perfect for that role, but you rocked out that role, and I appreciated it. Let me see. I was super on the fence about Sylvester Stallone in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I understand why they did it. And again, for the brief point in time that he was on the screen, all right, cool. But I can't see Sly as a villain. I can't. Even if you're an anti-hero, I can't see that. I can't.
Oh, we said the same thing about Jean-Claude Van Damme until Expendables 2.
I mean, hey, things happen. And I mean, look, older Jean-Claude Van Damme, yeah, I can see you. Like, you've had enough knocks in life where, okay, fine. JCBD. but again, they are few and far between. I kind of have reservations about some of the cast of Black Panther, but we'll see how that comes out once the movie actually gets released in February.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm already hyped for that one. I was going to go watch it regardless to what. I don't care. But
yeah, I might actually make that a trip to Alamo.
Oh yeah,
see
most
that
definitely.
one. Yeah.
I got to get me some Panther burgers. Or my bad, Panther patties. Get some of that Wakanda nail. I don't really know what they drink there.
No.
I'm pretty sure they'll have some sort of vibranium cocktail. I don't know.
I don't know if I want to drink anything made with vibranium.
Hey, look, it might make you stronger. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably no. It's kind of like eating iridium.
Hey, look, might make you stronger. You never know. But, and of course, Tilda Swinton being cast as the Ancient One, I think she is a phenomenal actress. I really, really do. I just didn't necessarily agree with casting a woman in a man's role, or a traditionally man's role, and especially an Asian man's role.
Hey, it's better than Scarlett Johansson being the Major from Ghost in the Shell. I went there.
Yeah,
I went there.
yeah, yeah. You know, let's keep this Marvel. Let's
I
keep
know.
this.
I know, but at least she did a good job as that in that movie.
You know, that's for me. That's for me.
Okay. Like I had to at least throw that eggshell in there. Like no, no, yo, we seen some bad whitewashing. Let's just stop it there.
Yes. And I mean, look, I get why they do this, why they make these changes, and I don't necessarily fault them for it because hey, you still put out solid movies.
hmm
Um, so look, I don't want to teach, so I critique. That's my box. Um, but again, you're at a 97.5, so keep it up. Um, but then we start getting our main introductions to a lot of the characters and settings that will be in this movie. Um, we already talked about the Sanctum Sanctorum set with Wong and Doctor Strange,
hmm
Bruce Banner, and eventually Tony Stark in a later shot.
Yes.
Also,
Who's rocking some new threads too, which I kind of liked.
yes, and I feel like, again, this is not confirmed. I don't work for Marvel, so please don't take this as law. But I think I kind of saw throughout the trailer maybe this bleeding edge armor that everyone's been wanting to see. Kind of looks like that's what the new threads are set up for.
That's exactly
'Cause,
what it's for.
exactly. I mean, mind you, at the end of Iron Man 3, Tony had the arc reactor that seemingly couldn't be removed. Plot hole, we'll discuss at a later point in time. Um, but now in this trailer, he seems to be rocking a new arc piece. So, that could be the onboard generator for the bleeding edge armor. Maybe off screen he's found a way to adapt the extremis to actually make a true bleeding edge suit.
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. I hope so. We'll see. Speaking of new threads, we also saw Spider-Man rocking his new Iron Spider suit, which quite curious to see how he gets that one in the movie. Although I'm believing it is probably out of necessity.
It's probably out of
Because
necessity.
yeah, we see at a later point in the trailer him, getting it handed to him, getting the business by Mr. Mad Titan himself. Um,
Mister, give me
but
the stones.
I'm just saying, we also get our first look at Peter Parker's spider sense, or at least
hmm
how it works. Which, again, snaps to Marvel. They pulled a Rick and Morty on us, because I don't know if anyone knows how a true spider's spider sense works, but it's, air quotes, it works in a lot of the same ways as a snake's does. You sense changes in the atmosphere, vibrations through the ground, and they use the hairs on their body to sense these things.
Yes.
And so seeing the hairs on his arms stand up and kind of start pushing over to where the danger is a great way of showing how this spider sense actually works for Peter Parker. It's very spider-like. So, snaps from Marvel, bringing some science in for kids. Uh, we also see a now blonde Natasha Romanoff, which I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I think I might like her better as a blonde. I don't know.
I gotta see
Scar-
where it goes from there. I mean, for me now it's not really looking. She's looking more American now to me, but I gotta see how it plays out.
I get once again, I get the necessity of it because her Cap they're supposed to be on the run, so she being a spy, I can see where you're going to want to change your appearance so that you don't necessarily get picked up as easily on cameras as you probably would with the red hair. I don't understand why she didn't just use her little face replicator thing,
Yes.
Winter Soldier, whatever.
You just blew that whole plot now. The whole
I'm
plot
just,
now. You just blew it up.
plot, plot hole for a later point in time. Like we're gonna have a chasm of these plot holes.
Damn you! You blew it up. Monsters.
I'm just, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Um, you know, and we also get a awesome intro to Captain America. It'll be quite interesting to see what he's been up to between Civil War and now. But
Yes,
obviously, he is.
hashtag no shave November himself.
I'm just saying, like, rocking your nomad look. No stars, no stripes, just black.
Oh man.
And we know that him and Bucky who gets unthawed, have been hiding out in Wakanda. But can I just say, Black Panther had one of the best lines in the whole trailer. Where he's, someone get this man a shield.
Yes.
You know,
That quickly became a meme too.
I'm just saying, like.
Did you have a chance to see some of the ones that I was posting that I was finding?
No.
Oh my gosh, some of them were hilarious. I mean, the chance, definitely check them out.
It's just amazing.
Oh my goodness, it goes from like pretty hilarious into freaking savage.
Look, I will watch just the Wakanda scenes of this movie.
I actually cannot wait to watch more of the Wakanda. I can't wait
Yes.
to watch more of that. Like that's probably one of the biggest elements of this movie, and I think that's gonna. They was talking about how Wakanda is gonna be, where the final battle, at least for this movie, is gonna be taking place. So I'm very curious to see more of how advanced this country is.
Right, and I think we'll get a good shot of that in the Black Panther movie. But again, that movie, at least as it seems right now, is going to be very insular. It's going to be a lot like the animated short that Marvel put out in their Marvel Knights line a few years back.
Yes.
So that whole story, for the most part, is going to revolve purely around Wakanda, whereas this obviously is going to span across the country, and it looks like across multiple worlds. Because we get what everyone is hypothesizing to be Xandar in this shot as well, with the orange planet that just kind of looks ravaged, and we get a few shots on the ground on that planet as well. So, I have to wait and see on that one. But we also get a nice shot of Tony getting the business handed to him by Thanos after he adds the Space Stone to the Power Stone, which is why I think that the bombed out and depleted orange planet is Xandar, because we already know he has the Power Stone, which at last check was being held by the Nova Corps on Xandar. So obviously you came through here, you wrecked worlds, literally, and you got your Power Stone. Now you have the Space Stone, which we all know from the trailers, as well as Thor Ragnarok, if you saw it, the Loki had, apparently gave to Thanos, and Thanos just took it outright.
Yep.
And, yeah. So, and he just gives Tony probably the meanest right hook I've ever seen. Like, if you go back and watch that video in slow-mo, you can see a piece of Tony's face mask go flying off.
A piece of his soul just fly away.
I'm just saying, like, he hit the ground and his dignity bounced a few more feet in the opposite direction. Like, you got the business. And that looked like it was no stone. Like, that was just straight Thanos. I'm just
Speaking of the stones, the trailer definitely showed a big reveal as far as the Infinity Gauntlet.
Again, we know that he gets his hand on at least 2 stones.
Yes.
If not the third coming from Vision. Um, and I appreciate once again, thank you, Marvel, that you didn't just release the footage that you released at D23 and Comic Con
Yes.
of Infinity War that we have now seen grainy copies of at this point. Like you didn't just release that footage, you gave us something new on top of it. So, thank you for that. But um, with everything put together, we now know that Thanos gets at least two stones in this movie, if not the third. But we also kind of end with two, probably of my favorite shots that follow the most badass quote of the entire trailer, coming from Thanos. Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe with this stuff. I was like, what? No. And then right hand by Thanos. But I do have to say that I thoroughly enjoyed the frontal assault on Wakanda that we saw, the 5 seconds of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like the tail end of the trailer with Thor meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time, and then just being completely floored by this dude who, if you watched Thor Ragnarok, who landed on their windshield, that would probably freak me out as well.
Well, I guess the other big thing that, the trailer showed, but we don't have an explanation yet, is we see Thor with the Guardians, but Loki and Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk,
Yes.
were with him at the end of the movie, and now they're split up. So, what's happening there?
This is true. And,
Oh, and I guess Valkyrie, too, we have to throw her in there, too. Who I really enjoyed in Thor Ragnarok. I thought she did a pretty good job.
Dude, Tessa Thompson rocked that. And, I mean, once again, if you've ever read a Thor comic, and especially the later Thor comics when they introduced the character of Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson is kind of the polar opposite of what you think about when you think Valkyrie. But she still played that role as if it was written for her.
Yes.
And I appreciated that. It meant the world to me, because when I first heard the announcement and then I Googled and saw her, I was like, dude, this is going to be bogus. But she rocked it.
She rocked it really good. She did a very good job with it.
So I was thoroughly impressed. And I sincerely hope that she lives to see another movie, because I do thoroughly enjoy her. But I mean, once again, see, this is a masterclass on how to put together a trailer to get people hyped. This movie's not going to come out for another 5 months.
Nope.
There was no reason to drop this trailer right now. But Marvel just did it because they were like, you know what?
Because they know they're going to keep people by their short hairs this entire process. Everyone knows Infinity War is coming. They're pleading for Infinity Wars. They know they're going to sell. They're going to sell out for the first month, and I don't think that happened since Titanic.
I don't even know if that happened during Titanic.
It happened during Titanic.
Everybody kind of rushed to see it like the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched it like twice in the movie theaters, but at that time, by the second time, it became a comedy to me. So I'm kind of the wrong person to go see tragic movies with, because I tend to laugh at them.
Which is why I think that this movie will have some laughs in it, no doubt. I mean,
absolutely.
Movie. But again, this is no Guardians of the Galaxy. This is not going to be a comedy by any means.
Yes.
This is a Greek tragedy. And of course, we have the tease from Marvel directly that not all of our characters will make it.
Mm-hmm.
At least one, if not all of them, will die. Which, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's needed. and holla at me on the site because I'm starting up a pool to see what character it is going to be. Currently, Captain America is in the lead, seeing as how the actor who plays him, Chris Evans, has not signed on another contract past the fourth Avengers movie.
Would you say that you're gonna make a Deadpool?
Ah, I see what you did there. Unfortunately, we can't call it that because he still sits at Fox. But
Oh well, we could say that because
oh,
we're not owned by Fox.
good point.
We
Good
we,
point.
we didn't sell our soul to Fox.
Actually, I have to go back through my contracts. I might have at one point. I don't know. I'll be making a lot of deals. It's a thing. Like, I really wanted that Klondike bar. I really got to read the fine print on things. But,
I keep telling you about taking food from strangers like that, man.
I mean, dude, look, when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, like, sometimes it'd be real worth it.
I keep telling you, man, you gotta go for those Snickers, not the Klondikes.
I mean, dude, the Snickers are just as bad. That's when they try to get you for the nougat, and they try to get you for the caramel, and they try to get you for the... Like, it's just a whole bunch of upcharges. Klondike is a straightforward agreement, all right? You mess around on a Snickers deal, you might walk out of there with a Milky Way. Like, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, you might end up walking out with a Kroger bar.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But, like I said, I am extremely interested to see this. I'm also kind of curious how this is going to play out with Ant-Man and the Wasp following Infinity War. Whether or not that story will be taken before Infinity War and we just kind of get like a flashback to what happened with, maybe some references in Infinity War. I'm not sure. But, I can't remember if I saw Ant-Man in the trailer. So, these stories might be running kind of concurrently to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and I'm also looking forward to who else is going to be, showing up in this movie. Like, whether it's going to be heroes or villains. Because we already know Thanos is the main baddie. But,
Right.
We have his henchmen as well. So I'm looking forward to see who's actually going to be there. I know there was a part in the actual trailer where there was I don't want to say a stick-like object, but it was a spear-like object that was caught by someone. Yes.
It was actually, once again, if you slow it down, because it moves so fast,
Mm-hmm.
if you slow it down, you can actually see that Proxima Midnight is the one who the spear, a member of the Black
wasn't
Order.
trying to spoil it all, but sure, let's go for it then.
Hey, look, screw it. The trailer's already out there. Cat's out the bag, all right? I'm just shaping. So, yes, the spear was thrown by Proxima Midnight, member of the Black Order / Cull Obsidian.
Yes.
And, a pretty BA member of the group, I might also add. But we kind of saw everybody but I forget what they're calling him now, but in the comics, he's Black Dwarf.
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember the name right out the top of my head, though. Sorry, guys.
Being PC, they changed his name from Black Dwarf to something. But he was kind of the only member.
Hopefully it's not Mr. Popo.
Hopefully it is not.
Sorry, that's a Dragon Ball Z abridged series joke right there.
But, he was kind of the only member that wasn't seen or referenced in the movie. And, we kind of saw the feet of Ebony Maw. We saw the staff of Corvus Glaive. We saw Proxima and her spear.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was kind of the only one that was MIA from the trailer, even though I'm sure he'll be in the movie.
Which, yeah, we're gonna see more. Yeah.
But I do think that this movie already has enough villains. And if any more get introduced, it probably won't be until Avengers 4, possibly. I'm kind of curious as to the implications of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline moving into Phase 4. Because, you know, Marvel president Mr. Feige has already said that Phase 4 will be a complete departure from everything that has come before it. So, kind of think all new, all different Marvel. With only a handful of these characters' stories
Mm-hmm.
actually continuing on. And it would probably be the newer additions, a la Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Spider Man, maybe Ant Man. That'll probably be it. But our core Avengers, we probably won't see them anymore.
No.
Or if we do, it'll be very sporadic and possibly in some team up fashion. So, I'm curious as to how they write that one off. Whether they use the Infinity Gauntlet to possibly bring them back from death, or get transported to a different timeline.
It's so interesting that you're mentioning those.
Yeah,
Because we have yet to know what happened to the Soul Stone yet.
this is true. And
Every other stone's been introduced. Someone has a stone. Except for the
running
soul.
favorite theory is that it's in Heimdall, and it is what allows him to see and hear all.
I thought the theory was it was in Wakanda.
Well, yes, and that is the theory. But again, if you read the Infinity comic, you'll know that Wakanda doesn't actually have a stone.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they are sent there by Namor, who we don't have in the movies yet. But they are sent there by Namor in retaliation for the destruction of Atlantis.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they find some other way to bring that about. I.e., Thanos gets some bad intel, and off we go to Wakanda. But I guess we'll have to wait for the Black Panther movie to see if that Soul Stone is in fact in Wakanda.
Yes. Did we finally get a date on when that's going to drop?
February 3rd, I believe.
Wait, so we have Infinity Wars Part 1 dropping May. We have Black Panther dropping in February.
Right.
What other movies
And
are
then
supposed to be
Ant-Man
dropping?
and the Wasp drops in October.
Of next year. Well, of course,
Yes.
next year, but. Okay. So, yeah, this is going to be like, I think, last year with all these superhero movies for Marvel.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
And then we will also get Captain Marvel, I believe, next year as well.
I believe we are supposed to get Captain Marvel. Well, of course we're going to get Captain Marvel because it's in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Right.
She is in that video game. So you can say that is any character that's going to be on there is going to be canon for the movies.
Right. And again, her solo movie will come out after Infinity War.
Yep.
But it will be a flashback to the 90s, which is just another plot hole in and of itself
Mm-hmm.
that I hope they don't get themselves caught up in.
I'm looking forward to this though, man. I really am. So hopefully we can take the entire Debate Among Friends crew out and we can all just enjoy it all together. Possibly the people can, persuade Duke to give them a live reaction after you get a chance to watch it, like straight from the actual movie theaters as he's walking out. So, all the reactions is raw, unedited.
I don't know. It might just be a whole lot of screaming. So, I might have to at least woosah all the way to the parking lot and then get a reaction. Calm myself down, maybe get a beer or two in me. Just kind of bring it down. Okay. Talk at normal human levels. But I am super pumped. But, just in the interest of keeping this rolling along. So, we have a segment on the show that I affectionately refer to as the Burn Unit. All of these contrite, kind of human missteps that are going on in the world right now that I feel like it is my duty to point out to all of you who are listening.
Tell him, Duke.
You know, and we call it the burn unit because somebody needs to get these people some aloe, man. This is just it's just wrong. So there there was a German model who I believe she's German anyway. I have to go back and double check that. Please forgive me, Germany, if she is not one of yours. But uh, living in California, I guess she has taken to the Cali lifestyle because she decided that, oh, my niche is going to be purple eyes. So she went out and got her eyes tattooed purple. Now, the only person that I feel like that should have purple eyes is Thanos. All right, you are it. Maybe you and Ivan Ooze. All right, you
Wow.
are it.
Ivan Ooze. Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you remember him.
Dang. He was a pretty good villain for that time.
I'm just saying. Shout out to the real. But you were the only two that should have purple eyes. All right. Now apparently her eyes are leaking purple ink because oh wait, you didn't even bother to make sure that the tattoo artist who was doing this has actually done eye tattoos before. You took what was a stupid idea and made it a extremely dumb decision.
A very costly decision.
Yes, because now you might be blind behind this because the ink has to be extracted from your eyes.
Nope.
What
Nope.
the what? When will people just learn? Like, this is just crazy to me.
I mean, you only get one life. You just gotta live it to the fullest, right?
YOLO. No, no, no. This is not.
No,
No,
this
this is
is
not
not
Harvard.
YOLO. This is not YOLO. This is not underneath the YOLO statute.
No,
This,
it's not.
under the YOLO statute of 2014.
Oh my god.
I think that's when this all
Oh,
started.
I'm pretty sure it is. And,
Chris, could you find out the origin of YOLO and when it started to become a thing?
you know, all YOLO is, per the words of Ted, it's just an excuse for people to be out hoeing. That's it.
Oh, 2011. Thank you, Chris.
Ah, well, hmm, been around for a minute.
Yeah, we can all blame Drake for that, unfortunately.
This is true. But, let's go ahead and throw that one in the burn unit. Also, we have in the NFL news world, the Eagles have the best record in the league right now, per last check, while the Browns have the worst. Now, I am no Eagles fan, but shout out to the Eagles. Y'all are making things happen over there. Browns, what are you doing with your life? 0-11? What the what? You couldn't even get one? There wasn't even one game? Somebody just, like, dang, you couldn't even, I don't know, get them drunk, get them caught up with some hookers and blow? Like, nothing? Nothing? You could do nothing? Poor Cleveland, man. Like, y'all don't have nothing but the Cavs to hang on to. It's just sad. Just sad.
Oh, goodness. So, who else is participating in your burn unit?
The last one that I'm gonna throw in here because occupancy is getting kind of full. I'm gonna put in here the entire nation of North Korea. And really just because of your beloved leader, aka Rocket Man. Apparently, we are sending stealth fighters, stealth bombers, and other munitions and arms to South Korea as hostilities seem to increase across the border. because South Korea is like that little cousin that you heard has been getting picked on in school. You can't get involved directly, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you this bat. You go ahead and hide that in your backpack. Maybe a brick and a sock or something. I don't know. But I'm just like, dude, really? Like, now is just not a good time to be in North Korea. Like, I know that none of you can probably hear me right now, but if you somehow get this on some pirated piece of technology, like, heed this advice and get the frack out of Dodge, because it is not going to end well. Like, at all. Just, I've always joked that North Korea would probably be the wild child that's kicked off World War III. But, like, I have to tell you right now, I don't really feel like China is going to fully get involved if that happens. I don't feel like Iran is going to fully get involved in that if that happens. Russia might get involved because they're feeling themselves hard right now. But I don't feel like it would be as grand as everyone thinks that it'll be, and I think that it will probably end quite quickly, depending on who is in charge on both sides. Cause yeah, like we're just gonna bomb the bejesus out of you, and again, it's not gonna end well for anyone. So yeah, I just throw them in a burn unit, man. Give them some aloe and some rap, cause it's a wrap. Like, this ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. Oh, people these days, man. People these days.
That was a pretty good burn unit segment.
We can do better. We can do better. I'm gonna up the ante. Get some more beds in there for next week. That whole North Korea wing, man, that took up a lot of space. But we got an addition being planned, break ground on it on Tuesday. So hopefully by next week it'll be built. Apparently, I got some Lego Master Builders back there in the back that are putting this whole thing together in like 5.5 seconds.
Oh
so,
my goodness!
Yeah. Durable Legos. So it's more like Mega Blocks. But sir, that was essentially what Duke It Out is all about. How are you feeling? You have any final thoughts for the people out there wanting to know what the Professor John Gotti is thinking in his swiveling chair as he conquers world domination?
I mean, for me, I'm just excited for the upcoming releases for the fighting games, Street Fighter V, the arcade edition, and the recent people that's going to be joining the roster for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I've been kind of lacking in my FGC knowledge lately, so I'm going to definitely just jump back into it. Especially with Capcom Cup coming up next week. So that's definitely something I'm going to be looking out for. So it's going to be out there in Anaheim, California. Make sure you catch it out on Twitch. You definitely will be checking out Debate Among Friends Facebook page and our Twitter account as we post stuff about it as well too, to give you some information on it. And once again, I appreciate you just inviting me onto the show.
Yeah, man, anytime. It's not a party without you.
I don't know about that. I feel like it's only a party once Doc Ocean gets into the fray. I just, I just provide one joke. It makes everyone laugh, and that's all I got. Like, after that first joke, it's hard for me to keep the ball rolling. But with the Doc, the party goes on all night long.
I think we just took it from, like, house party to Nick and Nora. Like, it went all three cons off the rails when we introduced Doc. But I'm a fan of chaos. Not an agent, but a fan.
I mean, sometimes you gotta have a fan, sometimes you got to be an agent. Sometimes you just gotta introduce a little anarchy.
Why not? Tell the
because
people where they can find you at.
you can catch me on Facebook. Catch the Debates Among Friends group. So underneath your search bar on Facebook, just type Debates Among Friends. You can find both the page and the group. So make sure you join in. Our YouTube channel, just type in Debate Amongst Friends on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like on this video and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification to join the notification squad. So whenever we go live with something or we post something new, you'll be the first to check it out. And then you can also follow myself on Twitter at Kin86 and Debates Among Friends at Debates Among Fur.
Fra. Like fra.
I mean, it's too long, but you know what? We kind of like it, so we kept it.
Why not? You know, my followers out there know you can catch me, Pigeon Gang, at your local park. Just grab a pigeon, whichever one doesn't run from you. Put your tweet on its leg. Eventually, it'll make its way to me.
Well,
or to get eaten by something bigger.
Perhaps you can one week tell people, you know, if Pigeon Man is still alive on Hey Arnold. Then.
You know, I've heard of him from the pigeons. Haven't met him yet. I'm gonna try and plan a trip this summer to go track him down.
You've heard of him from the pitch. Okay. I think we're gonna need to cut the show right now. I think we need to stop it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give them the goodbye, sir.
You know, once again, everyone out there listening, thank you so very much for tuning into this very, very special episode of Debates Among Friends, aka Duke It Out. I am your host, the Duke.
And I'm the guest for tonight, the Professor John Gotti.
And we are wishing you all a safe, happy, and adventurous one. Have a good one.
Peace and love.